Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I am here today to talk about a title for my sci-fi fantasy and weird exploration, and that is Alanna the First Adventure by Tamora Pierce. This is the first in the Song of the Lioness series, and it was my 27th title read for my sci-fi fantasy and weird exploration. This was published back in 1983. It is a fantasy novel, probably I don't know, it could be about horses and not be fantasy, but a lot of fantasy does have horses. It is a sort of, as I've understood, this title is a middle grade title, but the series is YA as a whole. And it is a complete series at 4 books for Songs of the Lioness, but the Tortall universe, which is also, it's the first of both the series and the universe. I think the Tortall universe is 18 books long, which is really, really long. I read this in 1 week, maybe less, but I think it was 1 week. I gave it a 9 out of 10 or 4.5 out of 5. I loved this title so very much, and I read this because Anita from Anita Reads is doing a read-along of the Tortall universe, and this is the first one, and so this is the one that I read. If you're unfamiliar with this series as I was, I actually totally I'd not heard of it until I put my sci-fi fantasy and weird list together, because both this 4-book series and the one that starts with, I think, Wild Magic are both on it, and I'm like, how is this possible? There's a fantasy, 2 fantasy series by a woman author with female protagonists. I think the second one also, I don't know if it features, actually, I know Alanna does, but I don't know if the other one does. But the other one, it's like the other covers are all like animals and stuff like this, and the second book in this series is like at the hands of the goddess. I'm like, how had I not heard of this? This one I just slipped through the cracks. It would have been a great one for me to read when I was younger, because it is a younger title, but I did still appreciate reading it as an adult. So this follows Alanna. She is a twin. She has a twin brother, and they go off to learn the trades that you learn as you know. Yeah, they're, I don't know, I can't remember who their father is. It's sort of like the, you know, faux medieval times ish. And I call it fictional monarchies. Some people call it like ye olde England. Like, that's sort of what it feels like. It's you know, there's a royalty system, and they are the kids of, I don't know, someone who would go to court. And I'm explaining this horribly. Anyway, so it has a hierarchy and a monarchy, and I don't know if there is a king or queen. Actually, there is a prince. She befriends a prince, so there, like, you know, I imagine princes' parents are kings and queens. I don't know, not an expert. Anyway, but her and her brother go away to learn, to be schooled, basically, and she decides that she's going to pose as a boy because she doesn't want to learn how to be a lady. She wants to learn how to fight. So they coerce their companions slash guardians to let them do this. And so she cuts her hair, and, you know, being, you know, faux medieval times, all she has to do is cut her hair and put on some pants, and all of a sudden everyone assumes she's a boy. So and it's funny. It's one of the things I love about this is that she actually goes to learn like fighting skills. She wants to be a fighter, or like a knight, and I don't know if she can be a knight technically. I'm not sure how it works. I'm not super, like, I think my knowledge of that is like half like A Knight's Tale and what I understand from reading like Once and Future King. So it's a little shady. It's not shady. It's a little you know, ambiguous. But her brother goes to study magic, and one of the interesting things about this is that they're twins, but they're not, you know, super friendly with each other. They don't hate each other or anything like that, but they have different interests. And so he goes to learn magic, and she goes to learn fighting skills. And I like that it's not, even though they do go different places to learn, she also is skilled and has an aptitude for magic, but she wants to learn to fight. And there is often, I find in fantasy novels, it's sort of like one or the other. Like, it's more like you know, Dragonlance, or like, you know, or like a game where you have like a 5-person party, and you have the tank, and you have the mage, and you have the healer, and, you know, like you have like you know, like the spellcaster, and all like the rogue. The rogue is the one that I always forget. I very rarely play a rogue. But anyway, So, but I like in this world that people can have both. So yeah, so it's a lot of fun. I did one of the questions I always have for myself is, do they understand it? And I would say yes. You know, this is a younger title, so I'd be a little concerned if I didn't follow along with it, but I definitely understood it. The only thing I found confusing about this one is she goes to learn fighting schools, and so she's at like a castle place, and there's lots of other people that are training, and I think I can't remember if they started as pages or, you know, pages, squires, you know, and you work up the ranks and you learn things, and it's very, you know, busy and fast paced, and there's lots of expectations ahead of them. One of the things I found challenging though is keeping the character name straight. I did talk about this read this in September 2019, and I did vlog through that month, and I did talk about it in my vlogs, was that especially there's a lot of characters that are in her like friend group or rival group or just around her, especially that start with the letter R, and they're all like 4 or 5 letters long, and there's like 3 to 6 characters with that kind of name, and like, you know, like Ralph and Raoul and Ramon, and like it's just like like it seems very strange to me that there would be so many common names, like similar-ish names, and so I found that confusing, especially because I think one really was someone she wasn't getting along with, and one was more like a friend, and one was like a new person. I couldn't keep them straight, so that was the only thing that I found a little hard to understand. But I really, really enjoyed this one. It had like a great adventurous spirit. She is a very spirited character. One of the only challenges that I had with this one is there were a couple things that's not true. There are a couple things, but generally I just loved it. I loved every minute of it. I enjoyed the characters. I would be worrying for them if there was a challenging situation. I was rooting for them if they were like, look, they were gonna persevere in a challenging situation. All of these things, like I was just with her for the adventure, and I loved the spirit of her character. I loved the people that she befriended, which was a wide variety of people. She does not tend to judge people. She's just as likely to befriend this person versus that person, regardless of their upbringing or background. And sometimes people see that as naivete, and sometimes it can be naivete. So, but she's going to judge people more on what they do as opposed to who they are, which is something that I like. That's like a theme or a story or a sentiment that I like seeing portrayed. Because I think it is, I think it's important to that, you know, I guess it's a value I have, that not to judge people based on who they are but what they do, or what they have but what they do, you know. So anyway, so it suited my some of my like values and perspectives, but there were definitely some challenges with it. There's definitely a lot of gender dynamics talked about in this one, because she's posing as a boy, so there is a lot of like women are supposed to do this and boys are supposed to do that, and hiding that she's a girl, and she feels, I don't know if I would go as far to say shame, but like, you know, should she embrace being a girl? But like in this world, that means that she can't be a knight, although it sounds like there are or were some, I think they say lady knights, but generally, you know, speaking, not. It's a very gender divide thing. So that discussion comes up again. I'll be curious to see how it's explored throughout the series. And there was, as I've mentioned in a couple of the other videos I talked about, there is some bullying in this one, so if that's a trigger, just be forewarned. And I still feel a little complicated about it, and how it was portrayed. And I think one of the other things that is challenging about this one is sort of that there is, you know, different regions, and there is a sort of desert region, and the people who live there, I think, is supposed to be similar to a certain oh, what's the word that I'm looking for? Oh, I'm not like, it's not exactly appropriation, but it's like a culture. It's like taking a culture that's real and imposing them in a world, and how that's portrayed, and that can get really complicated. So in terms of not perspective, that's not representation, I can understand how that would be complicated. Also note, this was written in 1983, so we have come a long way with that. I don't know if I would say it was negatively portrayed. I think it's too early in the the series to say something like that. And I don't know exactly, I haven't read up on how people feel or stuff like that. So it could be complicated is what I'm trying to say. And I was, one of the questions I also have for myself is, was it what I expected? And I would actually say, yeah, like it was a fun fantasy adventure. It was more set in a real world experience than I expected. But it wasn't what I expected in the fact that I actually did not know that she was going to be wanted to be a fighter type character. I think I might have known that she was posed as a boy. I didn't really know much about it. I just knew it was a younger title fantasy and lots of people really love it, and I ended up feeling very similarly that I really loved it. It has some complicated things, but overall I really enjoyed it. I definitely will read more from the author. I am going to continue on to read the second book in the series. Anita is, as I mentioned, hosting a read along, so I will be reading along with that. I'm very glad that I read it. Yeah, and it's one that I just think slipped through the cracks. I'm really surprised that I didn't read it when I was younger. It would have been a great one to read, but that just gives me more opportunity to enjoy it now. So, it's all good. It's all good. So I definitely will continue on the series. I will leave links to Anita's live show for this particular book down below if you would like to check it out. Of course, it will be spoilery because it is a discussion video, so just be known, or just note that. And yeah, let me know, have you read Alanna the First Adventure? Did you read it like me as an adult, or did you read it as a kid? I would love to hear your thoughts. So thank you so much for watching.